So you found a small insurance company with super cheap rates. You're looking online somewhere and you're able to lock in on an option. But here's the truth. If they go bankrupt or they just deny your claim, you're on your own. And a lot of times, people realize when it's too late. So today I want to talk about the five different risks between small different insurance companies and why cheap really isn't always better, right? So number one, they can go bankrupt and leave you with no coverage. So this is one of the biggest things. A lot of different small insurance companies, they don't have the financial strength of big name companies like State Farm, Allstate, Farmers, Progressive, whatever they might be. And if they go bankrupt, like I said, your policy disappears. You're just you're you're left for dead essentially. Um, like just imagine paying into a policy for years only to really find out that your insurance company doesn't even really exist when you file a claim, and you're just paying, the the system's amount basically. And a good insurance company, they're going to make sure they have strong financial backing, looking at things like their AM Best rating, their S&P ratings, their credit ratings within those companies, and also have a decades of history or hundreds of years of history of paying out claims, right? If an insurance company can't survive a major disaster or a bad economy, sorry, why trust them with your protection? Why trust them with your assets and everything that you've built and you've cultivated for yourself, whether that's a vehicle, whether that's a home, whether that's a business, different rental properties. There's so many different things that you have acquired as an asset. So why put those assets in a low rated carrier, a low rated company? So number two is just they might deny claims more often than bigger companies. So they cut costs, they find loopholes to deny claims, and fewer resources mean they have less customer service with more frustration. So they don't have a lot of systems in place to be able to serve you effectively and fit your needs proactively. They kind of just go about things and again find loopholes. They do unscrupulous business. They aren't the most ethical insurers. And you really have to ask yourself, like, would you rather save a few dollars on premiums today or have a guaranteed claim later on and guaranteed payments when you need them most? Those are really the key differences because a good insurance company, they're going to have fair claim payouts. They're going to make sure there's clear policies with no hidden exclusions. They're not going to give you a price and exclude 80% of the home policy or 80% of the auto policy. I've ran across different, even bigger companies, right, that have just taken off coverage because a customer said they wanted a lower rate, and didn't educate them on, okay, the possible options without risking your coverage, without risking the assets that you've built. So that's huge, right? Really, just if a company has a history of denying claims just to save money, they're not really protecting you. Know that, understand that, and you could be next, right? Nobody is individualized within that framework. You could be next, and your claim could be, your $35,000 roof replacement or your $150,000 of water damage can literally get denied. Dealing with an unscrupulous company, so that's a big thing to be aware of. Another thing is just they offer too good to be true type of rates. So a lot of them, their rock bottom prices usually mean that they cut corners. Again, they're doing business in an unscrupulous way. They have no customer service, no local agents, or slow claims processing. And this is actually getting really, really bad with the implement of AI recently, where AI is now your insurance company, right? Imagine having $100,000 water damage and you're texting a chatbot just to try to get your coverage paid for, right? And they don't have a underwriting process. They don't have any local agents, nobody you can go to actually ask questions and get advice. So that is dangerous and that is huge. And I'm honestly, I'm I'm kind of fearful of what's to come with AI being implemented so heavily within the industry. On the insurance side of things. And honestly, you might look at that rate and that rate might feel good today, but when your car gets totaled or when your home is destroyed, they're not going to be there for you. You have to ask yourself, will they actually be there for you? Given all the pre-concepts that we went through in the beginning, the credit rating with the company, the claims processing, are they going to be there for you? Do they have anybody you can actually talk to, right? So a good insurance company, they're going to offer competitive rates without sacrificing your coverage. They're going to have reliable customer service. They're going to service your policy in the way that's supposed to be. And insurance is one of those things where you don't want to find out the hard way that you went too cheap, right? So, um, find out the hard way that you went too cheap on a meal, when you could have got the best meal in the restaurant versus, you just went with the chicken tenders and fries. That's not as bad as getting a cheap rate with your insurance policy, and now you're, beholden to $50,000 or $100,000, or you have to forfeit your house, and now you're paying a mortgage on a house that doesn't even exist, right? Because you still are legally binding to that mortgage, and you now have to find a new place, and you now know the benefit of insurance and know where your gaps were. So there's a lot of regrets, involved in that. So number four is they just don't have any strong legal backing. This is another huge one when it comes to your claims. If they're going to actually fight and advocate for you at claims, um, you know, again, the risk is just they have weak legal terms. So that means they have more lawsuits and they lose more lawsuits. And a big claim could drain their reserves and leave them unpaid for a year, 2 years, and that affects everybody across the board that is within that company, has a policy with that company. So you don't want a company that has, no real uh, track record of proven legal representation within claims processing and actually fighting for their clients, getting their clients what they deserve. A lot of the ads that you see on YouTube where it's like, I got this much, with this accident lawyer, or I got this much with this lawsuit lawyer, whatever it is. A lot of those times, those people that are on the other side of that had that policy in the first place went with the cheapest rate. They went with the cheapest carrier, and now they're literally have thousands of dollars on their head and they don't know where to go. So they look to an attorney, they look to a lawyer, they look to some form of legal professional because they didn't have that within their previous company. So that's huge. A large scale hurricane, a wildfire, or anything could wipe them out and just leave you completely stranded. So you want to make sure that you're looking at good companies that have strong legal and financial protection, regulatory backing to ensure claims processing and payments. And you can actually look this up on Google if you just want to research what is the credit rating of this company. If you're with a current company that's not as big, just look up the credit rating of that company. Look up the AM rating. Look up the S&P rating of that company, so you can see how financially stable they are. And then also look up the claims processing. How many claims has this company paid in 2023, let's say, or 2024, which they should have that data available now. Or how many claims has this company lost, right? So again, a good insurance company is just going to make sure that the claims and financial protection is good. They're going to have good claim payments. And also, if your insurance company can't handle major lawsuits, are they really protecting you? Because you don't know what the accident that you're going to get in. You don't know the personal liability case that you're going to get in. You don't know the water damage that's going to incur on your house. Everything happens within that 5 to 10 second framework where you have an option to think and you have an option to make a decision. And if you don't have an informed agent behind you that's actually going to help support that decision and make sure you're, you know, um, completely taken care of when things go wrong, that's a huge red flag. And you really want to get away from that as soon as possible. So the last one here, reason number five, is they can just drop you with no warning, right? So you won't know, say they had a bad claims process with another customer, say they, had a huge lawsuit, or say they just had, a huge hurricane or whatever that just completely wiped the reserves within the company. And now they just have to drop other clients. And that's happening in Texas very, very, very frequently. A lot of different home insurance companies are just dropping clients. They're telling them, hey, we can't insure you no more. Or they're price gouging them. They're pricing them out of the market, basically meaning at the renewal time, the premium before was 3,000, now it's 25,000. Just an astronomical number, sorry, to try to make them look for different rates, try to get a different policy because they can't handle that state anymore. They can't handle the amount of claims that are within that state. So it's huge that you actually inform yourself on what you're signing up for, what you sign, because insurance is a legally binding contract that the insurance company will pay based on the things that you are covered for. And if you're not, they're gonna leave you scrambling. They're gonna make you find new coverage, and one day you have insurance, the next your policy is canceled. So finding a new one might be even more expensive in the long run. If you just had picked the right company in the beginning, dealing with the pricing in the beginning, you essentially could have had better coverage. You could stay with that company almost for the rest of your life. They're not going to just send you a bill in the mail for $20,000 and expect you to make a decision. That's terrible, honestly. And I've ran into that myself. I've seen people in a day-to-day practice that go through that are price gouged, that are having their company pull out of Texas, and they just don't know what to do, right? They don't have any other resources. So a good insurance company, a good company in general, is just going to make sure they have long-term stability, predictable rates, and renewal policies. So when I mean predictable rates, I mean, they're based on Texas Department of Insurance and the insurance practice, just nationwide. Rates have to be fair. They have to be adequate. They have to be what the company is willing to insure somebody else for. And if those rates are, you know, astronomically low, if they're just not what they're supposed to be, then that company is doing unscrupulous business. And we have an insurance commissioner that comes around every 5 to 7 years that checks on companies, that literally checks the financial backing of the company, that checks the credibility of the company, that checks the claims, everything from start to finish, A to Z. He's checking. And if you have a new insurer that just popped up in your town and they're offering crazy low rates, that's a huge red flag, and I would steer away from that immediately. So if your insurance company can also just drop you at any time, why trust them in the future with your finances, with your assets, with everything that you've built in this life? And if you don't have a company that is actually going to support you in that is going to make sure they cover the things that you are building as life progresses, why trust them with your financial future? Why go with the low insurer, right? Just really ask yourself the question. And I get it, everyone really wants to save money, but the right insurance shouldn't just be cheap, right? It should be reliable. If you want a free, no pressure coverage review, you can at least DM me, or you can click the link in my bio to send me your deck page, just so I can review it yourself and make sure that you're with a credible company. Again, it's happening a lot in Texas. I see, I can drive by Dallas and just see like a small insurer I've never heard of, and that's their only building in the entire state. And I look at their rates, or I might go through a quoting process myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm paying $2,000 less a year for this insurer. Okay, let me look up the credit rating. Oh, they don't have a credit rating. Oh, let me look up their S&P index. Oh, they're not even listed on the S&P. What is this company, right? And you really have to ask yourself those things, because if you're not asking yourself those things and the claims happen, or you're getting constant renewal surcharges because they have to keep up with the rates because they had it so low in the beginning, you are really going to get played out of your position. You're really going to get stranded. You're going to get left behind, and they can also just cancel your policy at any time. So again, if you want a free, no pressure coverage review, just send me a quick DM. I'll look at your deck page. Send me a message, send me a text. You can call me as well, 469-210-3618. Or you can even email me at keith@tpantx.com. Again, I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. I'm here every day, give you guys value and insurance value. So that way you're better educated. You know how to move with your policies. You know what you're buying, how it's going to work, and what it's actually going to do when claims happen. So thank you for watching the video. Hope to talk to you guys soon, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.